Hello, everyone. I am Kim Langling. I'm an author, freelance writer, and podcast host of Let Fear Bounce. But today I am here on behalf of Motivate Magazine, the inspirational issue. And today I have with me the beautiful Lois Wagner. She is coming to us from Johannesburg, South Africa today. And she is going to share a little bit about the story that she submitted to the inspirational magazine, which was, of course, accepted. And it is a powerful story, folks. So I hope you've got your coffee or your favorite beverage and you're sitting back and relaxed and ready to listen into an amazing story by an amazing woman. So Lois, thank you so much for joining me today for this great edition of the Motivate Magazine inspirational issue.
Thank you, Kim, and thank you for having me here.
It's amazing. This inspirational issue, I don't know if you've had an opportunity to read any of the stories in it, but wow, is it powerful? Just filled with power and strength and courage and inspiration and hope. And oh my goodness, an amazing edition. I hope that everybody gets a chance to get a digital copy at the very least. But your story, incredibly powerful. And I was sharing with you off screen here before we started that it was kind of a hard one to read for me personally. And it hit me personally because I've been in a similar type of situation, not quite exactly like yours, but similar. So it did hit me, and it was a tough one to read. But to me, sharing your story is courageous, and the words have power, and they provide light to others that may have been in the same situation or feel like they are still sitting in darkness because they don't know of a way out of it. So your story, you start your story off in the magazine very powerfully. It's just boom, right into it. So I'm going to let you take over about your story because the words coming from you are going to be so much more powerful.
Sure, thank you. Well, I've written a book about my story, and the opening lines of the book was, the first I was aware of him, he had his arm around my neck and a screwdriver to my neck. I screamed and screamed. He stabbed me. I screamed. And it carries on from there. So the start of my book is the start of my journey. I was working late one night in the courtyard of my secure little printing business, and the stranger scaled an 8-foot wall, jumped over, attacked me. I fought him very hard, but I lost. And he raped me and tied me up and left me for dead.
That's the visual picture that you just painted is horrific. It's horrific. You said this was a stranger.
Yeah.
So have you ever thought, and I know this is a thought that goes through my head too, why me? Why was I chosen at that particular moment? Does that thought ever run through your head?
Not. It's quite funny. It happened way before the Me Too movement, and the word rape was never discussed in polite circles. So it didn't happen to any of us, So, yes, I could have said why me, and later on I got a why me because that's what I do for a living now. But it never came across that, why me and why not somebody else. It just should not have happened to anybody. And so I was angry, as anybody would be, but I was so angry. And it was at a time in South Africa where we were moving from apartheid to democracy, and they were calling for submissions for the new constitution. And the man that raped me was out on bail for rape.
Oh my God.
So that added to my anger. Why was he out on the streets? And so I became an activist almost immediately. I was out there fighting the good fight, wanting to change the law, making submissions for the Constitution, lobbying, getting petitions. So I was out there fighting the good fight. So it never ever came as a thought, why me?
Right. You just immediately, you still had that fight instinct and said,
Yeah.
darn it, this has got to stop. This shouldn't be happening. And if no one else is saying anything, I'm going to.
Pretty much.
That's awesome. And we need more people like you. Honestly, we need more people like you. So I love the fact that you took all of that and you said that you were angry. And by golly, all of us should be angry at how
Yeah.
things happen when we read and hear of stories like this. It should spark that little flame of anger, because you're right, it should not ever happen to anyone. It just should not. Now, you said that you were in the small business, you had your own small printing business at the time, and afterwards that the business fell apart. How?
Yes, I didn't want to work there anymore. And I was in a 50% partnership, and my partner said, okay, he would buy me out. But he didn't. He betrayed me and he put the business into liquidation, and we lost everything. And I went deep into debt. So it was a double whammy. It was,
And how
one.
soon, how far in between those two incidents did that all happen?
I don't want to lie, but it wasn't very long. I think it was a year. I actually can't remember the timing now.
Oh my
Um,
goodness, but that's so soon. You're still recovering, at least mentally,
yeah,
from,
no,
dealing,
it was
dealing with.
hard. As I said to him, I said, the first time I was raped, it was by a stranger. The second time I was raped was by a man I loved and trusted. So it was, it was very difficult.
That was all within that same year time.
Yeah, I went to double check, but carry on. I can come back to the timeline.
But it was still, it sounds as if it was relatively close in time.
It was, and for the life of me, I cannot remember. Just looking in my book quickly because I can't
Oh,
remember the time.
that's it's not a big deal, honestly. Just I was trying to get a frame of mind that you may have been in when it just seemed like it was bam, 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 one thing after another. And it's not that they were little things. These were life altering episodes that happened.
It was about 2 months later.
Oh my goodness. And if I knew that this was not going to be broadcast out to the world on YouTube, I'd have different words that I'd be using, to be honest with you. Oh my goodness. So
Yeah.
it was just like one thing after another for you at that time frame. Do you ever look back? I know you're at a totally different place in your life right now, but do you ever look back at yourself at that time frame and say, how did I get through that?
You know, I've never sort of academically analyzed it in that context. I I have resilience, and I had resilience. I had quite a dysfunctional childhood, which gave me that natural resilience, and so the resilience was there, and so I just went with it. I had the courage, I had the strength, I had the determination, so I just went with it without really analyzing why, how, what, why am I doing this? It just something that I did.
So your mind flicked a switch. Actually, you flicked a switch
Yeah,
and
I think
said,
so.
I'm plowing through it. That's all there is to it. I'm plowing through it.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of strength. It does take a lot of strength, a lot of inner strength. And you may not have even realized that that's what you were using, because you were so in it and you're like, no, I'm getting through this. I'm just going to keep going. That's all there is to it.
But now there's a downside to that, because everybody was saying, "Oh, you're so brave, you're so strong, you're so brave, you're so strong." And you get that little feeling, "Oh, yeah, I'm so straight, so brave, I'm so strong. Look at me, aren't I the greatest?" And it would have been about 2 years later. One morning, I just couldn't get out of bed. My legs wouldn't work. And x-rays and MRI scans and what have you, I was told I had to have a back operation. So I had a back operation, it failed. I had a second back operation, it failed. I was sent home with a home nurse. I was bedridden for about 6 months in terrible pain. until my sister pointed out to me that it was psychosomatic, that there was nothing wrong with me. It was all in my head, because I wasn't facing the problems in front of me. I was putting them behind me because, look at me, I'm so brave and I'm so strong. So I wasn't facing the pain as I should have been facing it by being strong.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I was weak. I was pathetic and weak, and I could lie in bed and say, oh, look at me, woe is me. And so why get better? So I just stayed in bed, sick and poorly and weak. And after she pointed it out to me, I did a little bit of mind work. I went for 8 chiropractic treatments. The surgeon had told me I would never hike or scuba dive again because I could never carry the weight on my back. And 8 chiropractic treatments later, I did a 5-day hike with a 29-kilogram backpack on my back.
Wow. Wow. Now, I want to go back to what you said, that it was a while later that, you found yourself unable to get out of bed and walk. And then surgeries happened. And then you find that it's psychosomatic because you had not faced what you had went through. You had not, I guess, taken care of it. I can't think of the words to say, but I can understand that because it took me 12 years on my own personal journey. It's very easy to build walls and lock stuff away and just keep on keeping on, just keep plowing ahead. It's very easy to do that, but it does come out eventually in some way. Yours came out through
Absolutely.
physical pain. Mine came out through massive, massive depression. Um, and I wondered, why was I so incredibly sad, and how come I didn't want to be around people and I just wanted to stay in bed and have the curtains drawn, and so in a way it's a blessing that happened, but being bedridden for 6 months, that would have been incredibly hard on you. What were your thoughts during that time frame? I mean, were you wallowing in the woe is me thing, or were you at that time, I don't know, what you explain what your thoughts were, how you felt during that 6 months time where you were bedridden?
I was wallowing in woe is me.
Yeah.
I, we've got a lovely expression in Afrikaans called dronk verdriet. It translates into drunk maudlin, but it's got so much more meaning to it.
Yeah.
And I would get dronk verdriet quite a lot. I would cry in self-pity.
Yeah.
So,
And what
uh,
was that turning point for you where you just said, you know what, no more?
well, it was my sister. She got cross with me because I was drunk for that, and she got angry with me. And unfortunately she's left us now. But she was a natural healer, and she just gave me an article to read about how I was not facing my issues, and I was loading it onto my back so that my back couldn't cope anymore. And just by reading that article, it made me say, wait a minute, you've got to do something about this. It's not real. And so I did.
Yeah, and thankfully, thank goodness for your sister. You know?
Absolutely.
Oh my
Absolutely.
goodness. Because, what a horrible thought to think of how much longer you may have lain there, and it was not healthy. It was not healthy.
No, it
You
wasn't.
started, you started a movement. You help people move from victim to survivor to thriver and beyond to freedom after facing a life or business challenge or adversity. So share with us a little bit about that.
Well, I went back into the corporate world after the business went, and then I started my own business, and then I went back into the corporate world. So I was all over the place. And then I decided to leave the country. 13 years later, I left South Africa and I went to the Middle East. And I went on a whim for a year. I ended up staying about 11 years. Anyway, the rapist had been given a 25-year prison sentence.
Mhm.
And I'd never given much thought to him over those years. And I'd been away for a year, and I was coming home for my first holiday. So this was now 14 years later. And for some reason to this day, I don't know what made me do it. I contacted the authorities to find out what his status was. And they informed me that he was coming out on, he had a parole hearing the day after I arrived in the country. And in addition, the coincidence was just too great. And then in addition, the law had just changed a few months before, allowing, as they call them, victims to attend parole hearings. So I decided to go to this parole hearing, and everybody said, don't go, don't go. You're going to get triggered. It's going to be dreadful. And then one friend said to me, no, you must go and you must forgive him. And I said, what? Don't be stupid. I can never forgive this man. But I researched, I went to Mr. Google and I did a lot of research and I prepared this very long academic speech. And I was the first person in South Africa to go to one of these parole hearings. And I went to the hearing, and when they asked me, did I have anything to say, I read the statement. And as I read the statement, I thought, I don't understand this. He's not going to understand it. He had a grade 6 education and English wasn't his first language. And I said, I don't mean any of this. But I read it. And then when I finished reading it, I just looked up and I looked him in the eyes and I said something to the effect of, I forgive you compassionately and completely, from my higher self to your higher self. Take back responsibility. I take back my freedom. And as I said those words, I meant them. I thought, wow, how did that happen? You know, it was just like so instantaneous, that bond that had held me to him all these years just broke free. And the authorities said to me they would let me know in 7 days if he got parole or not. And I just said, no, I don't want to know. I don't need to know. He has now got nothing to do with me. So what happens to him is not my business anymore. And I didn't walk out that prison. I flew out of that prison.
I love that. Forgiveness is one of the most difficult things to do, at least in my experience. But when you do, you're not providing anything to the other person. It's all internal. It's setting yourself free. And I like how you said that it just broke free. What a wonderful mental picture. I picture like a chain, that's just been all twisted and rusty. And all of a sudden you're able to just break it and throw the two pieces aside. And as you said, flew out of there on wings of freedom. Oh, I love it. I love it. Wow. Wow. What a journey. What a journey that you have had. And I'm sure that you sharing your story, and especially in your book, more than likely resonates with more people than we can probably imagine. And I just, I'm amazed by you. I truly am. And I love your story and it resonates with me. I know it's resonating with other people that are probably listening. But what is the name of your book? I am dying to know this right now. Walking Without Skin. And is that where is that available?
It's available on Amazon.
Okay. So folks, right there, you see her book, Walking Without Skin, available on Amazon. I am going to hop on there and get myself a copy for sure. And I'm going to recommend it to other people without even reading it yet. As an author, getting your word, putting your story in words is powerful. And it's also, for me anyway, very cathartic. Did you find the same?
Totally therapeutic. I recommend to all my clients, write. You don't have to publish, you don't have to even share it with anybody, but the act of writing, it comes out of you, you're releasing it, you're expressing it. It's so healing.
Indeed, I completely agree. So folks, Lois Wagner, Walking Without Skin, available on Amazon. Check it out. I am certainly going to do that as soon as we're done with this interview. So Lois, thank you so much Thank you so very much for sharing your story, not only in the magazine, but with me here via this medium so that we can get it out to even more people to hear your amazing story and journey and to provide that spark of light and hope and encouragement to others who may be in the same situation. Been a true
May
blessing.
I, may I share quickly my next movement?
Oh, absolutely. Please do.
I decided, why am I helping people overcome their trauma? We need to stop it happening in the first place. And so I've just started now, the last couple of months, I've started the Be Brave movement. And that is where we teach people to be brave. And brave stands for boundaries, respect, agreement, values and vulnerability, equality, and empowerment. And if we can teach that to all of these, starting with the youth, but to everybody, just to treat people as human beings, we can stop the harassment, we can stop the gender-based violence, we can stop the sexual violence. So that is what I'm working on now. And I would love everybody to come and be brave with me.
What an absolutely beautiful movement. I am so glad that you shared that. Wonderful, wonderful. Yes, let's help her get this word out and be brave with her. Love that. Again, Lois, thank you so much for being with us and submitting your beautiful article to the inspirational issue of Motivate Magazine. And I'm going to screen share real quick here, as long as I can get to it. Goodness, look at, you get to see all of my other screens. Motivate Magazine. I know, I'm so professional with this, aren't I? Motivate Magazine, the Small Business Bible, is the micro and small business owner go-to business Bible written by small business owners for small business owners who want to lead in their respective industries. And again, folks, this is an interview on the inspirational edition of the Motivate Magazine, chock full of amazing stories. And Lois, this is just one of them. So thank you so much, Lois, for being with me today. I have truly been blessed by meeting you and hearing your story and being able to share parts of it here through the Motivate Magazine YouTube page. Thanks so much for being with me today.
Thank you, Kim. And I'd like to say to everyone, it's such a beautifully put together magazine. It is so worth getting. Other than my story and all the other stories, it's just a very professional publication. And I advise you all to get it. And then my parting words to you all is to fly free.
I love it. Oh, thank you. Love it. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful day, Lois.
Thank you, Kim. You too.